The massive ship came down from the sky on a Tuesday morning. It was bigger than anything humans had ever built. The shadow it cast covered the entire city of Geneva. People stopped in the streets. Cars crashed into each other. Children pointed at the sky with wide eyes. The world held its breath. Admiral watched the descent from the military command center. He was 62 years old with gray hair cut short and eyes that had seen too many wars. He did not panic. He did not run. He simply watched and waited. "Sir, all world governments are on the line," said his aide, a young woman named. "They want to know what we should do." Kept his eyes on the screen. "Tell them to wait. We do nothing until we understand what we are dealing with." The ship landed softly in the fields outside Geneva. It made no sound. It left no mark on the grass. For 3 hours, nothing happened. Then a door opened in the side of the ship and creatures walked out. They were tall, much taller than humans. Their skin was pale blue, and they had 4 eyes arranged in a diamond shape on their faces. They wore flowing robes of silver and gold. They moved with the confidence of beings who had never known defeat. The leader of the aliens stepped forward. He raised his long arms in a gesture that seemed meant to show peace. "We are he said. His voice was strange, like many voices speaking at once. "I am Ambassador. We come on behalf of the Galactic Council. We bring greetings to the people of Earth." Within hours, a meeting was arranged. The United Nations building became the stage for humanity's first conversation with beings from another world. Every camera on Earth pointed at the tall doors. Every person who could watch, watched. Secretary General Park stood at the entrance to greet the alien delegation. She was 55 years old, small in height but large in presence. She had led nations through crisis and war. She was not easily impressed. "Welcome to Earth," she said simply. Ambassador bowed his head. "Thank you, Secretary General. We have traveled far to bring you wonderful news." They walked inside together. The great assembly hall was full. Representatives from every nation sat in their seats. Admiral stood at the back, watching everything with his cold, careful eyes. Stood at the center podium. Behind him stood 11 other aliens, each from a different species. Some had scales, some had fur. One seemed to be made of living stone. They represented the power of the Galactic Council. "For 11,000 years," began, "the Galactic Council has guided the development of civilizations across the stars. We have brought peace where there was war. We have brought knowledge where there was ignorance. We have united hundreds of species under one banner of cooperation and progress." He paused and looked around the room. His 4 eyes blinked slowly. "Today, we offer the same gift to humanity. We invite you to join the Council as a developing member species. Under our protection, you will be safe from the dangers of the galaxy. You will receive technology beyond your dreams. You will take your place among the stars." The room was silent, stepped forward. "And what do you ask in return?" she said. Smiled, at least it looked like a smile. "Very little. You will surrender your military weapons to Council oversight. You will accept population monitoring to ensure stability. You will welcome cultural advisors who will help guide your society toward galactic standards. In time, you will be elevated to full membership." Looked at the document that was placed before her. She read it slowly. The whole world waited for her response. "You want us to give up our weapons," she said. "For your own protection," replied. "You want to monitor our population. To ensure peace and balance. You want to send advisors to change our culture. Spread his hands to help you grow." Set down the document. She looked at the alien ambassador with steady eyes. "We decline," she said. The silence that followed was absolute. Stared at her as if she had spoken in a language he did not understand. "I am sorry," he said slowly. "Perhaps my translation device is not working correctly. Did you say you decline?" "Yes," said, "we reject your offer, all of it." Looked at the other alien representatives. They seemed just as confused as he was. "Secretary General, I do not think you understand. This is not truly optional. Every species accepts integration. Every species recognizes the wisdom of joining the Council. Those who resist," he paused. "Well, there have been no species who resist. It has never happened." Admiral stepped forward from the back of the room. His boots echoed on the floor. Every eye turned to him. "Then we will be the first," he said. Turned to face the Admiral. "And who are you?" "I am Admiral. I command Earth's combined military forces. And I am telling you that humanity will not surrender its weapons. We will not accept your monitors. We will not let you change who we are." The alien ambassador's expression changed. For the first time, something like concern crossed his strange face. "You are making a terrible mistake," said. "The galaxy is dangerous. There are threats you cannot imagine. Without the Council's protection, you will be alone against enemies who will show you no mercy. Did not blink. We have faced enemies before. We are still here. Your technology is primitive. Your ships cannot even leave your own solar system. How do you expect to survive?" "We will find a way. We always do." Shook his head slowly. "This is foolishness, pride and foolishness. I urge you to reconsider." Secretary General stepped beside. They stood together, facing the alien delegation. "The answer is no," she said. "It will always be no. Humanity will chart its own course among the stars. We will make our own mistakes and win our own victories. We will not become a protected species under your control." The other alien representatives began to whisper among themselves. Their languages were strange, but their tone was clear. They were worried. Ambassador gathered himself with visible effort. "Very well. I will deliver your response to the Council, but I warn you, this is not the end. The Council does not accept rejection easily." "Neither do we," replied. The alien delegation left that same day. Their great ship rose into the sky and vanished among the stars. The world watched it go with a mixture of fear and something else, something that felt like pride. That night, Secretary General addressed the people of Earth. "Today we were offered a choice," she said. "We could have accepted safety in exchange for our freedom. We could have let others decide our future. We said no, because humanity does not kneel. We do not surrender who we are for the promise of protection. Whatever comes next, we will face it together. We will face it as humans." Admiral watched the broadcast from his office. He knew that trouble was coming. The aliens would not simply accept rejection and go away. They would return with demands, with threats, perhaps with weapons. But for the first time in many years, he felt something like hope. Humanity had stood united. They had looked at the stars and refused to be afraid. It was just the beginning. The real test was yet to come. But on that night, as people around the world looked up at the sky with new eyes, one thing was clear. Humanity would not go quietly into the dark. The Galactic Council's capital station was older than human civilization. It floated in the heart of a nebula, a structure so vast that entire moons could fit inside its halls. Here, the rulers of 100 star systems gathered to decide the fate of worlds. Ambassador walked through the great corridors with heavy steps. His journey back from Earth had taken 3 weeks. 3 weeks to think about what had happened. 3 weeks to prepare his report. He still could not believe it. The council chamber was a perfect sphere, with seats carved into every surface. Representatives sat above, below, and all around, creating the impression that you were floating in a sea of watchful eyes. At the center of the sphere was a platform where speakers stood to address the assembly. High Counselor was already waiting. He was a species that resembled giant octopuses with crystalline shells. He had ruled the council for 200 years. He had never faced a problem he could not solve. "Ambassador," said, his voice booming through the chamber, "we received your preliminary report. Surely there must be some mistake." Stepped onto the central platform. He could feel thousands of eyes upon him. "There is no mistake, High Counselor. I presented the standard integration offer to the humans. They rejected it completely." Murmurs rippled through the chamber. Representatives leaned toward each other, whispering in a dozen different languages. "That is impossible," said a delegate from the Empire. He was a massive creature covered in thick armor plates. "No species rejects integration. It has never happened in 11,000 years of council history." "It has happened now," replied. High Counselor raised one of his many tentacles for silence. "Tell us exactly what they said." Described the meeting in detail. He told them about Secretary General Park, the small woman who had said no without fear. He told them about Admiral, the soldier who had stepped forward to challenge an empire that spanned the stars. When he finished, the chamber erupted into chaos. "They are barely a Type 1 civilization," shouted the delegate. "They have no hyperdrive. They have no shield technology. They cannot even travel beyond their own solar system. How dare they refuse us?" "Perhaps they do not understand their situation," suggested a delegate from the collective, "beings made of pure energy. Perhaps we need to explain more clearly. Or perhaps, said slowly, they understand exactly what they are doing. The chamber fell silent once more. Moved to the center platform, his massive form casting shadows across the assembled delegates. I have studied these humans, he said. I have read every report our observers have compiled over the past century. They are a young species, yes. Their technology is primitive by our standards, but there is something different about them. Different how? Asked the delegate. They fight, said. Not occasionally, as most species do. Constantly. They fight each other. They fight their environment. They fight against odds that should destroy them, and somehow they survive. He pulled up a holographic display showing Earth's history. Wars scrolled past in an endless stream. Empires rose and fell. Civilizations were destroyed and rebuilt. In just 10,000 years, they have gone from living in caves to splitting the atom, continued. They have survived ice ages, plagues, and weapons capable of destroying their entire world. And through it all, they have never stopped advancing. The delegate snorted. This is meaningless. We have destroyed species that were far more advanced. One fleet would be enough to bring them into line. Would it? Asked. Consider this. Every species we have integrated came to us willingly. They saw the wisdom of joining the council. They welcomed our protection. But the humans have done the opposite. They have looked at everything we offer and said no. Because they are fools, they said. Or because they are not afraid. The words hung in the air. Every delegate understood what was suggesting. Far from the council chamber, in a small room on the outer edge of the station, a woman listened to every word. Her name was Lee Jinnah, and she had been born on Earth 35 years ago. She had been taken by council scouts when she was just a child, selected for a program that raised humans among the stars. The council had wanted to understand their discovery. They had studied her, tested her, and eventually put her to work as a minor intelligence officer. They had made a mistake. Jinnah had never forgotten where she came from. She had never stopped thinking of Earth as her home. And for the past 10 years, she had been sending secret messages back to her people, telling them everything she learned about the council and its weaknesses. Now she typed a new message, her fingers flying over the keyboard. They are afraid of you. That is why they offered peace first. They wanted to control you before you became too strong. You have made them nervous. Make them more nervous. She encoded the message and sent it through a network of hidden relays. It would take a week to reach Earth, but it would get there. Back in the council chamber, the debate continued. We must send another delegation, the representative suggested. Offer them better terms, more technology, perhaps a seat on one of the minor councils. That would show weakness, they argued. We should send a fleet instead. Show them what happens to species that defy the council. Shook his head. No, not yet. We must be careful with these humans. If we attack them and fail to win quickly, other species might take notice. They might start to think that resistance is possible. He looked around the chamber with ancient eyes. We will send more diplomats. We will offer better terms, but we will also begin preparing for other options. General, begin moving your fleet toward the human solar system. Do not engage, but be ready. General of the Empire stood and bowed. It will be done, High Counselor. On Earth, a week later, General Minu received Jinnah's message. He was a tall man with broad shoulders and a face marked by old scars. He had spent his entire life preparing for wars that never came. Now, finally, he had a purpose. He took the message to Admiral, who read it in silence. They are afraid, said finally. Yes, sir. Good, fear is something we can work with. Called a meeting of Earth's highest military commanders. They gathered in a bunker deep beneath the mountains, safe from any eyes in the sky. The aliens will come back, told them. They will offer us new deals, new promises, and when we refuse again, they will bring ships and weapons. We must be ready. How? Asked one of the commanders. Our technology is centuries behind theirs. We cannot match their fleet. Smiled. It was a cold smile without any warmth. We do not need to match them. We need to survive long enough to learn. Every day we resist, we grow stronger. Every piece of their technology we can study brings us closer to standing on equal ground. He turned to General Minu. What resources do we have? Minu activated a display showing a map of the solar system. 18 months ago, one of their scout ships crashed on the dark side of the moon. We have been studying the wreckage in secret. Dr. Bay leads the research team. She believes she can reverse engineer their propulsion system within 2 years. Make it 1 year, said. Find her everything she needs. Money, people, equipment, nothing is more important than this. The commanders nodded and began making plans. Far above them, the stars watched in silence. The council was preparing its next move. The humans were preparing theirs. And somewhere in between, Legiona continued her secret work, a bridge between two worlds that were racing toward collision. The galaxy was about to change forever. And for the first time in 11,000 years, the Galactic Council did not know what would happen next. That uncertainty was perhaps the most frightening thing of all. The second delegation arrived 6 months after the first. They came with larger ships and bigger smiles. They came with offers that would have made any other species fall to their knees in gratitude. Hansora met them at the gates of the United Nations. She was 43 years old, with long black hair and eyes that revealed nothing. She had spent 20 years as a diplomat, negotiating treaties between nations that hated each other. She knew how to smile while saying no. "Welcome back to Earth," she said to the alien ambassadors. "I hope your journey was pleasant." The lead ambassador this time was from the collective. He appeared as a column of glowing light, shifting between colors as he spoke. "We come with a new offer," they said. "The council has reconsidered. We believe our first proposal was perhaps too demanding." "I see," Sora said. "Please come inside." The negotiations lasted 3 days. The aliens offered trade agreements. They offered technology transfers. They offered seats on minor councils and access to galactic communication networks. They offered everything except the one thing that mattered. "And the military oversight?" Sora asked on the final day. "The population monitoring, the cultural advisors?" The flickered with discomfort. "These things are still necessary. For your own protection, you understand." Sora nodded slowly. She picked up the thick stack of documents the aliens had prepared. "You offer us the stars," she said, "but you ask us to give up our swords. You offer us knowledge, but you want to control what we learn. You offer us a seat at your table, but only as guests who must behave according to your rules." She set the documents down gently. "The answer is still no." The ambassador's light turned a deep red. "You are making a terrible mistake. The council has been patient, but patience has limits." "So does our tolerance for being threatened," Sora replied. "You may go now." 3 months later, a third delegation arrived. Then a fourth. Each time the offers grew more generous. Each time Hansora rejected them with the same calm dignity. The aliens grew frustrated. They began to make threats. They spoke of fleets and weapons and the fate of species who the council. Sora listened to all of it without fear. "You offer us chains wrapped in silk," she told the fifth delegation. "We will forge our own path." While Sora fought with words, others fought in different ways. Deep beneath the surface of the moon, Dr. Bay worked in a laboratory that officially did not exist. She was 38 years old, small and thin, with glasses that always seemed about to fall off her face. She was also the person on Earth. The crashed alien scout ship filled the entire chamber. Workers moved around it like ants, carefully removing pieces and cataloging everything they found. Stood at the heart of the engine, a crystalline structure that pulsed with soft light. "The energy signatures are unlike anything in our physics," she said into her recorder. "The crystal appears to fold space rather than traveling through it, if I can understand how." She worked 18 hours a day. She forgot to eat. She forgot to sleep. Her assistants worried about her health, but she pushed forward anyway. "We do not have time," she told them. "The aliens will not wait forever." Her breakthrough came on a Tuesday morning, 13 months after the first delegation arrived. She was drinking cold coffee and staring at equations that covered an entire wall when suddenly everything made sense. "The crystal is not the engine," she whispered. "The crystal is the key. It unlocks a natural fold in space-time. We do not need to build their technology. We need to find our own way to turn the key." Within weeks, her team had built a prototype. It was ugly and crude, made from parts salvaged from a dozen different machines. But when they activated it, a small marble vanished from one end of the laboratory and reappeared at the other. They had created a warp drive. Admiral came to see the demonstration personally. He watched as larger and larger objects were teleported across increasingly greater distances. "How soon until we can put this in a ship?" he asked. Pushed her glasses up her nose. 3 months for a small ship, 6 months for something larger. You have 4 months, I want a fleet. While built engines, General Minyu built weapons. The alien scout ship had carried defensive systems that far exceeded anything humans had created, but Minyu was not interested in defense. We cannot match their shields, he told his team. So we will go around them. We will hit them so hard and so fast that their shields will not matter. He developed missiles that could accelerate to impossible speeds. He created bombs that collapsed into miniature black holes for a fraction of a second. He designed tactics based on surprise, aggression, and total commitment. The aliens fight careful wars, Minyu explained to his commanders. They calculate odds and preserve resources. They have not faced an enemy willing to sacrifice everything for victory. We will teach them what that means. Secretary General Park watched all of this with careful eyes. She knew that war was coming. She knew that humanity might not survive, but she also knew that surrender was worse than death. We did not ask for this fight, she said during a private meeting with her closest advisors. But we will not run from it. Every day we remain free is a victory. Every moment we refuse to kneel is a message to the galaxy. Legina continued to send messages from the council station. She reported on fleet movements and political debates. She warned of generals who wanted immediate attack and politicians who urged patience. They are testing your resolve, she wrote. They believe you will eventually break. Prove them wrong. On Earth, her messages were received by a growing network of intelligence officers. They studied every word, looking for advantages, for weaknesses, for any information that might help. Then on a cold morning in December, everything changed. The Council's surveillance network detected the test flight of humanity's first warp-capable ship. The vessel was small, barely more than a shuttle, but it appeared 3 light-years from Earth and returned safely. Alarms screamed across 100 star systems. High Counselor convened an emergency session. His tentacles trembled with something that might have been rage or might have been fear. They were supposed to remain contained, he shouted. How did they advance so quickly? Their technology was centuries behind ours. The general stepped forward. His armored form was built for war. It no longer matters how, he said. What matters is that they now pose a real threat. If we allow them more time, they will only grow stronger. We must act now. The chamber erupted into debate. Some called for immediate attack. Others urged more diplomacy. But everyone agreed on one thing. Humanity could no longer be ignored. On Earth, Admiral received the news with a grim smile. They know, he said. Good. Now they will have to decide what kind of war they want to fight. He called a meeting of all military commanders. The room was full of men and women who had trained their entire lives for conflict. The council will send a fleet, told them. They will demand our surrender. When we refuse, they will attack. We must be ready. General Minyu activated a holographic display of the solar system. We have 150 ships equipped with warp drives. Another 200 are being fitted now. Most are small, but they are fast and heavily armed. It will not be enough to defeat their fleet, someone said. No, agreed, but it will be enough to hurt them, and sometimes hurting your enemy is more important than defeating them. He looked around the room at the faces of humanity's defenders. We will fight, he said. We will make them bleed for every inch of space they try to take, and we will show the entire galaxy that humans do not surrender, no matter the cost. The commanders nodded. They understood. Outside, the stars continued to shine, indifferent to the struggles of the beings beneath them. But for the first time in 11,000 years, those stars were about to witness something new. They were about to witness humanity at war. The Galactic Council fleet entered the solar system on a Friday morning. 200 warships emerged from warp space just beyond the orbit of Neptune. They hung in the darkness like angry stars, their weapons powered and their shields raised. General stood on the bridge of his flagship, the destroyer named Absolute Judgment. He was covered in scars from 100 battles. He had crushed rebellions on a dozen worlds. He had never lost. Send the transmission, he ordered. His communications officer activated the broadcast that would reach every corner of the human solar system. People of Earth, his voice boomed across the void. I am General of the Galactic Council Fleet. By order of the High Council, you are hereby commanded to surrender immediately. Disarm your military forces. Accept Council oversight. Submit to integration. This is your final warning. You have 24 hours to comply. Failure to do so will result in the complete destruction of your civilization. The message repeated on every frequency. Every human who could receive radio signals heard the alien general's demand. Admiral listened to the message aboard the Indomitable, humanity's first true battleship. It was not as large as the alien vessels. It was not as elegant, but it was packed with weapons and crewed by people who were not afraid to die. They brought 200 ships, reported Captain. She stood at side, her face calm despite the fear she must have felt. How many can we field? Asked. Weapons Officer Shin checked his displays. 312 vessels, Admiral. Most are smaller than frigates. 87 are larger combat ships. We outnumber them, said. Numbers mean nothing if their ships are stronger, replied. But numbers are not what matter today. He walked to the front of the bridge and looked out at the stars. What matters is that we show them who we are. In the command center on Earth, Secretary General Park gathered her advisors. What are our options? She asked. General Minyu pointed to the tactical display. We can surrender, we can try to negotiate, or we can fight. What do you recommend? Minyu looked at her with steady eyes. If we surrender, we survive as slaves. If we negotiate, we simply delay our surrender. If we fight, we might die, but we die free. Nodded slowly, then we fight. She opened a channel to Admiral. Admiral, you have authorization to engage the enemy. May God be with you. Thank you, Secretary General, replied. God can watch, we will do the work. He turned to Communications Officer No. Open a channel to the enemy fleet. Worked her console, channel open, Admiral. Took a deep breath. He knew that his next words would be remembered for as long as humanity existed, if humanity survived. General, he said, this is Admiral of the Earth Defense Fleet. We have received your ultimatum. We reject it. There was a pause, then his harsh voice came through the speakers. You reject it. Do you understand what you are saying, human? Look at our fleet, count our weapons. You cannot win this fight. Perhaps not, agreed. But we can make you pay such a price for victory that every species in the galaxy will remember it. We can hurt you so badly that your great council will never feel safe again. Is that the outcome you want, General? You are bluffing. I never bluff. We do not recognize your authority. We do not accept your terms. If you advance, we will defend ourselves. This is your only warning. Cut the channel and turn to his crew. Battle stations. All ships prepare for combat. Across the solar system, humanity's fleet began to move. Ships launched from hidden bases on moons and asteroids. Vessels that had been disguised as mining equipment revealed their true nature. The darkness of space began to fill with the lights of human engines. General watched the display on his bridge with growing confusion. Where are all these ships coming from? He demanded. Our intelligence said they had fewer than 100 vessels. They must have been building in secret, General, his aide replied, hidden from our surveillance. How? We have been watching them constantly. There was no answer, but felt something cold settle in his stomach. It might have been the first touch of fear. He shook it off, but did not feel fear. It does not matter how many ships they have. Their technology is inferior. Their crews are untrained. We will crush them and move on to their planet. All ships advance. The Council fleet began to move toward Earth. On the Indomitable, Admiral watched them come. They are confident, Captain observed. Confidence is good, overconfidence is better. Turned to Shin. Are the special weapons ready? Yes, Admiral. All ships report ready. Good, begin Phase 1. 50 small human ships broke from the main fleet. They accelerated toward the enemy at speeds that should have been impossible for vessels their size. The aliens tracked them with confusion. What are they doing? Asked. Those ships are too small to threaten us. He found out seconds later. The small ships did not stop. They did not slow down. They flew directly at the Council warships and exploded on impact. The explosions were not normal. They collapsed into points of infinite density, creating momentary black holes that tore the alien ships apart from the inside. 12 Council vessels died in the first 30 seconds. What was that? Shouted. What kind of weapon was that? Unknown, General. We have never seen anything like it. Stared at the display in shock. He had expected an easy victory. He had not expected casualties. On the Indomitable, Admiral allowed himself a small smile. Phase 2, all ships engage. The human fleet surged forward. They did not fight like the Council expected. They did not form neat lines and exchange fire at long range. They dove into the enemy formation like wolves among sheep, firing at point-blank range, ramming when their weapons ran dry. Communications officer broadcast a signal on all frequencies. It was not words, it was music, the drums of war pounding across the void. "What is that sound?" demanded. "It appears to be music, General. They are playing music at us." Did not understand. No species played music during battle. No species seemed to enjoy combat the way these humans did. The battle raged for hours. Council ships fell. Human ships fell. The void filled with debris and fire. Captain fought with cold precision, directing the Indomitable through maneuvers that pushed the ship to its limits. Weapons officer Shin fired until his consoles overheated, then switched to backup systems and kept firing. Admiral stood at the center of it all, calm as stone. "They are retreating," reported suddenly. "The enemy fleet is withdrawing." Looked at the display. It was true. The Council ships were pulling back, regrouping at a safe distance. "How many did we lose?" he asked. 215 ships, Admiral. Approximately 8,000 crew." Closed his eyes for a moment. 8,000 lives, people who had trusted him, people who had believed in the cause. And them. 97 confirmed kills, many more damaged. Almost half their fleet. The Council had come expecting an easy victory. They had been wounded instead. General stared at the casualty reports in disbelief. His perfect record was broken. His invincible fleet had been bloodied by primitives. "This is impossible," he whispered. But the evidence floated before him. Broken ships, dead soldiers, defeat. He opened a channel to the Council station. "High Counselor, the humans have resisted more strongly than anticipated. We require reinforcements." There was a long pause before responded. "There will be no reinforcements, General. You had the largest fleet we could spare. If you cannot win with 200 ships, you cannot win." Felt his world crumbling. "Then what do we do?" "We negotiate," said, "truly negotiate as equals." On the Indomitable, Admiral received the enemy's request for a ceasefire. He looked at his crew. They were exhausted, they were wounded, but they were alive. "Accept the ceasefire," he ordered, "but remain at battle stations. We will talk, but we will not drop our guard." He allowed himself one moment of satisfaction. They had done it. They had faced the might of the Galactic Council and survived. Now came the harder part. Now they had to win the peace. The Battle of Saul was over, but its echoes spread across the galaxy like ripples in a pond. On 100 worlds, enslaved species watched the broadcasts in stunned silence. They saw the Council fleet retreating. They saw the human ships, small and ugly and victorious. They heard the drums of war that humanity had played across the stars. For 11,000 years, they had believed that resistance was impossible. Now they watched proof that it was not. High Counselor knew the danger. He could feel his empire trembling at its foundations. Species that had been quiet for centuries began to whisper. Governors reported increased unrest. Military commanders asked uncomfortable questions about their own fleets. Everything depended on what happened next. The negotiation took place on a space station that humans and aliens built together in the empty void between Mars and Jupiter. It was neutral ground, a place where neither side had advantage. Secretary General Park led the human delegation. She brought Admiral General Minu, Diplomat Hansora, and one other person that the Council did not expect. Legina stepped off the human shuttle and into the light of the neutral station. She had spent 15 years hiding among the stars, pretending to be a loyal Council servant. Now she walked openly as what she had always been, a daughter of Earth. High Counselor recognized her immediately. "The intelligence officer," he said, "you were the spy." Jinnah met his gaze without flinching. "I was the spy. I sent every secret you had back to my people, and I would do it again." Studied her for a long moment. Then, surprisingly, he laughed. "I understand now," he said. "I wondered how the humans advanced so quickly, how they always seemed to know our plans. It was you." "It was all of us," Jinnah replied. "You took a child from her home. You thought you could make her forget, but we never forget who we are." The negotiations began slowly. The Council delegation made demands. The human delegation rejected them. The Council offered compromises. The humans studied them carefully. Hansora did most of the talking. She had spent months practicing for this moment, planning for every possible argument. "You want us to join your council," she said. "We understand, but we will not join as servants. We will not join as protected children. If we join as equals." The delegates snorted. "You fought one battle. That does not make you our equals." Admiral leaned forward. "We destroyed half your fleet with technology we built in 18 months. Give us 10 years. Give us 20. Do you really want to find out what we can do when we have time?" The room fell silent. Secretary General took over. Her voice was calm but firm. "We did not ask for this conflict. We did not want war with the Council, but we will never accept being controlled by others. It is not in our nature. It is not who we are." She looked at directly. "You have a choice, High Counselor. You can try to destroy us. You might even succeed, though it will cost you more than you imagine. Or you can accept us as we are, stubborn, difficult, sometimes aggressive, but also creative, adaptable, loyal to those who earn our trust." "And if we choose to destroy you?" asked. "Then we make you pay such a price that every species in your empire remembers it for 1,000 years. We become a symbol, the humans who fought, the humans who never surrendered. Do you want that story spreading across your empire?" Was silent for a long time. He thought about the battles that would follow. He thought about the casualties, the costs, the decades of war. He thought about the species already beginning to question council authority. He thought about what would happen if the humans won. "What do you want?" he asked finally. "Full recognition as a sovereign power," replied. "No oversight, no monitors, no cultural advisors, equal trading rights with all council species, a permanent seat on the High Council itself." "That is impossible. You are a single species. The High Council represents empires that span hundreds of worlds." "Then we will build our own empire," said simply. "And in 100 years, when we control hundreds of worlds, we will take that seat anyway. This is your chance to make us an ally instead of a rival." Looked at the other council delegates. They were afraid. He could see it in their eyes, their tentacles, their shifting colors. They were afraid of what humanity might become. Perhaps that was the right response. "I need to consult with my government," he said. The humans waited. They had no choice, but they waited with dignity, without desperation. A week passed, then two. On Earth, people watched the news with anxious hearts. In space, the fleets remained at standoff, watching each other across the void. Finally, returned to the negotiation table. "The Council has reached a decision," he announced. "We recognize the Solar Union as a sovereign power. No conditions, no oversight. You will have full trading rights with all Council species." He paused. "As for the High Council seat, that will take time. There are traditions, protocols, but we are willing to discuss it." Allowed herself a small smile. "Then we have an agreement." The treaty was signed 3 days later. Representatives from both sides gathered in the Great Hall of the neutral station. Documents were exchanged. Hands and tentacles and claws came together in gestures of peace. When it was done, Secretary General addressed both delegations. "Today marks a new chapter in galactic history," she said. "For the first time, a species has joined the interstellar community, not as a subject, not as a protectorate, but as an equal. We do not know what the future holds, but we know that humanity will face it on our own terms." She looked at the alien delegates, then at her own people. "We are not your enemies. We never wanted to be. All we ever wanted was respect, the right to make our own choices, the freedom to be ourselves. Today, you have given us that, and in return, we offer you something the galaxy has never seen before." "What is that?" asked. "Partnership, real partnership. Not the obedience of subjects, but the loyalty of friends. When you need help, we will be there. When you face enemies, we will stand with you. Not because we have to, but because we choose to." She extended her hand toward. "What do you say, High Counselor? Can humans and aliens work together as equals?" Looked at the small human hand. It seemed so fragile, so weak. But he remembered what that fragile species had done to his fleet. He reached out with one of his tentacles and wrapped it gently around his hand. "Let us find out," he said. Across the galaxy, enslaved species watched the ceremony. They saw the human leader shaking hands with the Council's ruler. They heard the words of equality and partnership. And they began to hope. On Earth, celebrations erupted in every city. People danced in the streets. Fireworks lit up the night sky. For the first time in 2 years, the people of Earth felt safe. Admiral stood apart from the celebration, watching the stars from his office window. "We did it," Captain said, joining him. "We actually did it." "We survived," corrected. "The real work is just beginning. We need to build our fleet, expand our territory, make ourselves strong enough that no one ever threatens us again." He looked at her with tired eyes. "But tonight we celebrate. Tomorrow we get back to work." Legina returned to Earth for the first time since she was a child. She stood on the shore of an ocean she barely remembered and let the waves wash over her feet. "Welcome home," General Minu said, standing beside her. "It does not feel real," she replied. "I spent so long dreaming of this moment. Now that it is here, I do not know what to do." "You rest, you heal. And then when you are ready, we put you back to work. The galaxy is a big place. We need people who understand it." Jenna smiled. "I can do that." Secretary General gave one final address to the people of Earth. "We were offered safety in exchange for our freedom. We said no. We were threatened with destruction. We said no. We were told that resistance was impossible. We proved them wrong." She paused, looking into the cameras that broadcast her image across the world. "Today, we are recognized as equals by the greatest power in the galaxy. But we should never forget how we got here. We got here by refusing to kneel, by standing together when it would have been easier to surrender, by believing in ourselves when no one else did. The galaxy will never be the same, and neither will we. We are no longer alone in the universe, but we are still ourselves, still human, still free. That is our victory, that is our legacy, and that is what we will build upon as we take our place among the stars." The broadcast ended, the celebrations continued, and in the darkness of space, the stars kept their ancient watch over a galaxy that had been forever changed. Humanity had not rejected diplomacy. They had simply refused to accept anything less than respect. And in doing so, they had shattered an empire that had stood for 11,000 years. The galaxy would never be the same. And that was exactly what humanity wanted.